Hello, welcome to Aries Sun Stereotypes and the Planetary Nodes. My name is Bradley Naragon. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, and I've noticed that people have stereotypes of sun signs that actually correlate to the planetary nodes. So this series is a look at each sun sign. In this case, today we're going to look at Aries, and I've got some memes and some sayings that I looked up online, just kind of some classic, like Aries is this, and going to break those down and see if they do relate to the planetary nodes or not, and in what ways. So I'm kind of excited about that. It's kind of fun. Before we get into that, I wanted to say that in evolutionary astrology, it's a little different than other branches of astrology, and particular the teachings that I've been studying, which were brought forth by Jeffrey Wolf Green, really focus on the sun sign, as a symbol that correlates to the current life purpose. And that as a sun sign, okay, in evolutionary astrology, a lot of these planets and nodes will correlate to past lifetimes. This is a branch of astrology that definitely is based on the concept of reincarnation. However, you don't have to believe it. It's a great psychological tool, regardless of what you believe. I think that to throw it out because it's based on reincarnation is kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater there. And just to actually give it a chance and study it and to see what kind of tool it is and what knowledge it has is really the thing to do if you feel drawn to doing that. But the sun in the chart doesn't correlate to other lifetimes. It just correlates to the current life purpose. Unless somebody has their south node in Leo, then relative to the south node in Leo, it's going to tell more of a story of that past purpose and actualization of self. So I say this to say, when we have a sun in Aries, now Aries in evolutionary astrology, first and foremost, as the first sign of the zodiac, symbolizes the beginning of the whole process. So being in a state of becoming is very Aries. And Aries discovers their own purpose through a process of trial and error. And that, in this culture, in the Western culture particularly, I think is in and of itself, it's challenging, but it also is beneficial, because an Aries sun can mean that you're a pioneer, right? Or that you're really courageous, or that you're at the forefront of something. And our society rewards psychologically people who can do that, right? At the same time, if your whole purpose in life is being in this state of becoming, and that you're discovering it, the fact that you might not have your purpose figured out is a challenge in this culture, because you're getting, I mean, now kids are getting asked, they're in middle school and they're asking them what they're going to do. You know, they're supposed to be getting on a track, and then it's high school, and then they, you know, are you going to go vocational school? Are you going to go college? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? Are you going to keep going in school? And so if you have an Aries sun and you're in this process of discovering what your purpose is, that's what you're supposed to be doing. That's part of why you're here. So you can just throw out a lot of this BS and the judgment around that experience for yourself if you can. Yeah. So, okay, we're gonna look at some of these memes and sayings about Aries here. And I'm gonna share my screen, and I've got I've got the nodes here, and we're just gonna also look at this as a backdrop as we go. And I will say before we get into the memes, if you don't know astrology that well, that's okay. You might get something out of this anyway. I'm just, if you do know astrology, some, um, just follow along, and you might find some pretty insightful stuff, I hope. So just off the bat, I will say that for Aries sun signs, they've got their south node of their Mercury, where they're coming from with how they communicate and think, right? It's going to either be in Pisces, or near the end of Aries, the later Aries, it's going to be a south node of Mercury in Aries. So Mercury south node, they're coming from a Pisces or an Aries. Just note that. As far as Venus goes, they're coming from the south node of Venus in Aquarius, or some of them have it in Pisces. So they're coming from a south node of Venus, Aquarius, Pisces. That's going to be pretty key to remember in all of this. And as you can see, the north nodes of Venus and Mars are basically in Taurus for all of Aries suns. Excuse me. South node of Mars is in Sagittarius. And the north node of Mercury is mostly in Aries for most Aries. So for example, if Aries represents this process of trial and error, and your north node of Mercury is in Aries, it's kind of like you just have to start speaking and say things and see what happens. And then somebody says, hey, you're an asshole. Like, I don't know, I'm just trying to figure out how to communicate, um, that would be symbolized by the north node of Mercury in Aries. You got to give them some slack there a little bit. I mean, if somebody's consciously being manipulative and being an asshole, that's one thing. But if they're honestly just trying to figure out how to communicate, and they end up, being insensitive in the process, Mercury and Aries, sometimes things just fly out of the mouth. It's almost like a Mercury and Sag, right? You don't know what's going to be coming out. Okay, so this one, this first meme, I'm not actually sure what to think about it with the planetary nodes. It says, when Aries decides to become more social, and then it shows someone and they're like, and it says, I'm surrounded by idiots, which is, that's kind of judgmental. And also just kind of like annoyed with other people in general. The interesting thing about it is, if you think about being social and you think about relationships, we're thinking about Venus and Mars, right? So like I was saying is, most all the Aries suns have the north node of Venus and Mars in Taurus. So part of their evolution and their draw is, so in Taurus, that's going to be about your relationship to yourself, versus Libra is about relationship with other people. So if their evolutionary pole is to spend time with themselves and really develop their relationship with themselves, it's maybe not necessarily an Aries path to really be invested in other relationships. I mean, and I say that with, you have to take all this with a grain of salt and think of the whole chart as a whole. I mean, somebody with Aries could have their north node in the 7th house, or Libra. But in general, just looking at these nodes, there's a big emphasis on evolving through Taurus for Aries suns, which in evolutionary astrology is going to be like, I got this, do it yourself, self-sufficient, self-reliant. So, and you can still work in a group, but it's like the Taurus aspect here is like, you still need to kind of own your own piece of that, whatever that group work is, right? And maybe maybe you feel more called to just kind of root down into your own piece, like what's my part of this, and I want to sink into that, right? So for all the memes about Aries not being social or being annoyed with other people, it kind of raises this question of are they having enough time for themselves, or are they feeling this pull or draw to do something by themselves? And maybe that's part of these north nodes. That's one of my points there, right? Here's another saying for Aries. An Aries is always stuck between being annoyed by you and wanting to spend every waking moment with you. Okay. Um, Again, I'm going to go back to these north nodes of Taurus first, because if you have someone that has a really strong second house Taurus placements, you're going to find that classic paradox in relationship, where they do really need time alone and time by themselves, but they're still going to want to connect with you too, right? Now, so there's a little bit of that in the nodes there. The other piece to think about here is for some of the Tauruses, I'm going to go forward here. Let's look at, okay, for March Aries, they're all south node of Venus in Aquarius, and then boom, April 4th. So the second half, a little over half of Aries suns have a south node of Venus in Pisces. A south node of Venus in Pisces could be someone who in the past has an addiction to relationship, even, right? Kind of want to gets lost in relationship. It could be a lot of things, of course, but that in light of, they could be sacrificing too much or over giving in relationship. Got to look at it in context of the whole chart, of course. However, you don't think of Aries suns as being romantic necessarily, but if you have a south node of Venus in Pisces, then perhaps you're coming from that a little bit, but it's not your evolutionary path right in this lifetime. So you're wanting, the evolutionary path here is this Taurus. It's not to get lost in another relationship, but then that could be an old comfort, kind of like a drug, where they want the relationship, but then they're like, no, I need to be doing my own thing. So you could be getting these kind of mixed signals, which I think that this is what this is getting at, right? And Aries is always stuck between being annoyed by you and wanting to spend every waking moment with you. Venus in Pisces is kind of like, you want to like go into the ocean, right? The relationship is just completely like envelops you with the whole experience of it. I definitely think that this little saying here about Aries can be seen through the planetary nodes and makes a lot of sense to me. Here is another one. We've got in Aries feeling empathy, and then it's just a face that's like, ah. It says, what is the feeling I'm feeling right now? It's like I'm sad for another person. And then on the bottom it says, is that a thing? Am I going crazy? That's kind of a silly meme for Aries. And in light of that, most Aries have, well, all the Aries have some south node in Pisces, and you can see over half of them have this south node of Venus in Pisces. Venus in Pisces is really sensitive and an empathetic signature for a relationship, assuming that it's not just pure like disassociation and being checked out, right? It can be very compassionate, can be a lot of love. And Venus in evolutionary astrology is feelings. So I would say, for the first half of Aries, having that south node of Venus in Aquarius, they, this meme kind of fits a south node of Venus in Aquarius, where the feelings are going to be more detached, right? A Venus Aquarius, is definitely not as warm and fuzzy as a Venus in Pisces. So if they're coming from the Venus in Aquarius first half of Aries, um, yeah, then the meme sort of fits. But for the second half of the Aries suns, it doesn't actually make sense, you know? And so you have to kind of look at the chart as a whole and be like, does that even make sense for this person? And obviously, some people have had relationships with Aries and have had these experiences, so they're kind of poking fun at it, and maybe someone's even poking fun of themselves. Um, I would definitely say this is more of a first half Aries Sun type meme, and it correlates to a South Node Venus in Aquarius. You know, it's like, what? I'm having feelings. I don't know, what are those? Uh, uh, yeah, Venus and Pisces. They know what their feelings are. They're usually overwhelmed by them. Uh, okay, here's one, and it's like, I think it's Cinderella with the middle finger up like this, and it says, Aries, when they say you should follow the rules. I mean, yeah, Aries is definitely known as being a rebel in and of itself. Um, as an archetype, you know, needs a lot of independence, freedom to do their own thing. But of course, again, first half of Aries suns, I would say it's even more emphasized because you've got the South Node of Venus in Aquarius. Aquariuses are known for being rule breakers too, so it's a double emphasis there. Also, you've got the North Node of Mercury in Aries, so for them to evolve, especially from a South Node of Mercury in Pisces, could be coming from a place where they've been a little like too open-minded to a lot of different ideas and have gotten confused. And so now needing to do this North Node of Mercury Aries, it's like, okay, Aries Sun, it's time to form your own opinions on this. So they kind of need to be a little strong-headed because of where they're coming from, right? And so middle finger up to following rules is really them in the process of this self-discovery of what actually is my own way here. This one is really silly. um, it says me. Well, it's Aries, right? Aries on the picture, and then it says me. I I really need to stop buying stupid things when I get paid. Me when I get paid. And then it shows this person with an alligator on a leash, like they just bought this alligator pet and it's got like this sweater on it. That's really weird. And I mean, immediately I was like, thought that that's kind of a classic um, South Node Venus in Aquarius. I would definitely say that the weirdest Aries suns are going to be the ones with the um, March 20th to April 3rd with that South Node Venus in Aquarius. This is totally like weird Aquarius stuff. Not to say that Aries isn't quirky and weird and eccentric in its own way, it is. But as pure archetypes go, I think you have to consider this South Node Venus in Aquarius when you've got this really like freak show type stuff, and I love it. But that's really weird. Who had who thinks of having an alligator for a pet in a little knit sweater? Um, okay, next we've got says Aries be like, and then the person's like, and it says accepting help from other people. No. And then the bottom one says doing and achieving everything on their own and being independent to the point of being stubborn and hard to relate to. And they're like, yeah. So not this is, I mean, this is classically, yes, there's Aries Sun independence here, but this is so Taurus. This is so the north nodes of Venus and Mars in Taurus. um Taurus is like, I got to do this myself, in self-sufficient, self-reliant, and so the bottom picture, the person's so happy because they're doing and achieving everything on their own. This is very Taurus, right? Aries to achieve things on their own. I mean, yes, that is definitely something that they can do, but I think that an Aries sun is also going to be harnessing and accessing these Taurus North nodes, and that's the really thing that rings true for them, is that they got this. They need to own and do it on their own to feel like they're actually evolving in the experience. So we relate this to an Aries sun, but it's these Taurus North nodes. Uh, let's see, I got a couple more for you, and then gonna wrap it up. This one says, this is another, I guess the Aries is holding some balloons and then flipping a bunch of people off as they float away. And it says, everyone just wants to be liked and accepted, except Aries. Aries doesn't give a shit. I mean, again, with all these North nodes and Aries and Taurus, it's like they're on their own path. They really do need to do their own thing. So coming from these South nodes, Venus in Aquarius or Venus in Pisces, a South node of Venus in Pisces could also symbolize a lot of relationships in community in the past, a lot of connecting and and also with that South node of Mercury in Pisces. So you can't really underestimate how much an Aries sun has come from this place of potentially having been really open and really involved in a lot of other people's ideas and perspectives, and hearing a lot of them. And now they just kind of need to, it's like, they already been there, done that. I mean, if you don't believe in reincarnation, then you'd be like, well, what are you talking about? But if it is true, then they may have had lifetimes where they've really taken in the voice of the group, listened to a wide diversity of people, and potentially got confused about what they even think or value, or took on the values of the group, or took on the values of a larger collective that they're incarnated in. So even more, the Aries fuck you and I don't need you is really like, I need to evolve and this is my path. And so if we really understand Aries suns, we're going to give them that. We're going to give them what they need and support them in that, and not just judge them for that, right? This one says, Aries be like, I was going to do that, but then you told me to. I mean, again, I think that's kind of a combination of, it could be Aquarius. It's like Aquarius doesn't work to really tell them what to do. And it is just Aries in general. They're going to do it when they want to do it. And it's also a bit of Taurus stubbornness. So that one's interesting. This one is really ridiculous. There's a little SpongeBob holding a little Aries placard on the desk, and it says, pretending to be listening, but actually planning on when to interrupt you. That, I mean, again, you have to look at the chart and all the natal planets. And in this case, if we're talking about interrupting someone, probably going to be looking at the Mercury. And most Aries, so going back to the beginning, see, most Aries have their south node of Mercury in Pisces. That's this here. And the north node of Mercury in Aries. And let's see how long that north node of Mercury stays in Aries. That signature stays quite a long time. And then there on April 10th, so the last third of Aries suns, then we've got this south node of Mercury in Aries. But then then the last 5 days, you've got that north node of Mercury went into Taurus. So having that Mercury in Aries nodes, especially if it's the north node of Mercury in Aries, I think that planning on when to interrupt might be more of them coming into their north node. You have to see if they have a natal Mercury in Aries or something, though, on this kind of thing. There's a lot of ways this could express. It could express from the south node. It could express as them doing the north node. They could have their natal Mercury conjunct the south node. Then that would be, wow, you know, what does that mean? They could have the north node of, or their Mercury conjunct their Mercury in Aries. So you really kind of got to look at it. It's a funny meme and definitely holds some truth and relevance, but I don't think you can just kind of blanket this one for Aries. Of course, Aries can be very strongly opinionated, so there's definitely some validity there. This one says, I think I got two more. This is how Aries apologizes. I'm sorry that you chose to make me mad. Wow. I don't even know what to go. I'm just gonna go to the next one. This one says, Aries, you don't know how many times an Aries has put other people's needs before their own, and it didn't get them anywhere. This I find really fascinating because to me, this speaks to a south node of Venus in Pisces. So half of Aries folks have a south node of Venus in Pisces. So this actually would be something people born April 4th to April 19th. You've got a south node of Venus in Pisces. That's definitely a signature that would represent putting other people's needs in front of your own. And of course, if this is a default relationship or an old relationship pattern, being a south node, it's not really the path. It's like the north node of Venus is in Taurus. So it's like, hey, before you just sacrifice what you were going to do, south node of Venus Pisces, you gotta, what are your needs, Aries sun, right? So I thought that was really interesting to read that. And I mean, I don't think that they know about the planetary nodes. Not many people out there are yet using them. And this saying is just attributing it to Aries suns. So you can see how it actually has some really interesting relevance to the nodes of Venus. So yeah, I'm gonna stop there. I had another one, but it's not that good. So thanks for tuning in, and that's Aries in a little nutshell breakdown of the nodes. There's a lot more where you can go into. I wanted to keep it a little bit shorter and a little more digestible, but you can see that there's a lot more to look at, and I'm focusing on the personal planet nodes because, and I didn't even really touch on the south node of Mars, but this is a lot more tangible and a lot more personable things that people can connect to. These outer planet nodes, they're hanging out in these signs for pretty much the whole year. So these are more collective social patterns that you really have to put in by house. And this is a way you get a lot much deeper into astrology on the chart. And we're not going there today. Just wanted to either validate or spell out a little bit of how these stereotypes for Aries suns do indeed correlate to the planetary nodes.